Welcome to another edition of the Fearless Football Forecast. I'm your host, Ronnie Woodward, Tony Castleberry, and Jim Gentry. Guys, we got 6 games, a full slate here this week. We're getting right into it. Tony started off. Ashley travels to J.H. Rose.
Yeah, Rose has kind of, I think, found its identity a little bit, and they're riding Marquise Gorham, boy, as they should. As we were talking before we started filming here, for a guy who isn't really an integral part of the offense, he's a difference maker. Love watching that kid play, and that Rose team is looking pretty good right now.
No doubt. All right, what's your pick in that game?
I'm picking Rose to win.
Okay.
Home field advantage. They've been playing a lot better offensively and defensively even. I think they'll get a win.
All right, Jim?
I'm going to go with Rose too. Gorham has been unstoppable right now. I'm going to ride that Rose train at this moment. They're kind of clicking, and that loss to New Bern was by 3 points in a shootout. A game anybody could have won. So
no doubt.
right now, I think you got to go with Rose, especially at home.
I'm going to go with Rose as well. I'm going to write in the print edition later this week that Rose, that conference is really tight, and this is a game that's probably winnable where they need to get this win to kind of start that thing in the right direction. I think the Rampants get a win there. Jim, next game, Rosewood and Aiden Griffin.
Yeah, both teams were off last week, but Aiden Griffin, right now, that defense is really driving that team. About 7 points a game. Rosewood's on the other end of that spectrum, giving up 33 points 4 times already. So, it's going to be one of those things where it's Rosewood's offense against Aiden Griffin's defense.
Yeah, looks like the Chargers have the edge there. You're going to go with Aiden Griffin?
I think you have to go with Aiden Griffin in this game. 4-1, playing at home. The one loss to North Pitt, who's playing really well this season. So I think the Chargers will roll in this game.
Yeah, I agree. I think Aiden Griffin gets that thing going. Maybe Kareem can get back this week and kind of get the running game going. I think they win easily. Tony?
Yeah. I mentioned that Rose was finding its identity. It certainly seems like Aiden Griffin is too. I think they'll win pretty easily.
All right, I got the next game. Northern Vance travels to North Pitt. As Jim mentioned, North Pitt got a win. They actually played the one Pitt County team to play last Friday. They got a win. They're kind of moving in the right direction. Northern Vance coming in struggling. They have 1 win. Another lopsided kind of, if you look at just wins and losses, a lopsided game, like most of these, unfortunately. But North Pitt, Northern Vance is a 3A team, so North Pitt's going to have to show up to win. As far as the pick, I'm going with the Panthers there. They're at home, as I said. They got momentum. They're looking good. What do you think, Tony?
I think that North Pitt dropping 31 points at Green Central is kind of an eye-opener. I mean, I think we all picked North Pitt to win. Yeah. I didn't imagine it would wind up being 31-9. Dave Bowles got the Panthers rolling. I think they'll keep it going with a win tonight.
Yeah, Northern Vance is struggling offensively right now. Clearly, North Pitt isn't, like Tony just said. So I think North Pitt's a clear winner in this game.
All right, Tony, next game, Kinston, that high-powered team, as always, travels to Farmville Central.
Yeah, the season just seems to get longer for Farmville Central. I mean, we thought that maybe last week would be their chance to get in the win column. They wind up giving up 43 points to a Southwest Edgecombe team that we thought maybe they would beat. So, the road does not get any easier at all with a 5-1 Kinston team coming in. Farmville Central struggles may continue.
All right, what's your pick there?
I'm picking Kinston. I mean, Kinston's been good for years. They're always explosive offensively.
Yep.
I think they'll have too much speed for Farmville Central. I think Kinston will get the win.
Right.
I got to go Kinston too. Their only losses to Havelock, who we all know is a really good 3A team, and they're really clicking at this point. Farmville Central, I think their lack of depth is just hurting them. That game was tied I guess that was Monday.
Yeah.
Was tied before it kind of got out of hand, and I just think it's a matter of those kids getting tired. I think the numbers game is not going to help, and Kinston will win easily.
Yeah, I think Farmville likes some explosiveness on offense. As you said, like teams are getting big plays against them. They're not able to match it. That's really hurting them. So I'm going with Kinston there as well. Jim, next game, South Central, who you saw on Monday, travels to West Craven.
Yeah, this is an interesting game. South Central is kind of a hard team to figure out right now.
Yeah.
Their defense is incredible. I mean, I've seen them twice against Farmville and then against Jacksonville, and their defense is stout, create a lot of turnovers. The problem is their offense disappears at times.
Yeah.
And for 3 quarters of that game, for a Monday night, the offense couldn't be found.
Yeah.
Then they put together a big 96-yard drive, scored a touchdown. Defense set them up with another touchdown. To set up a touchdown, interception returned to the 4-3, and then all they just had to punch it in. But they got to find a way to to drive the ball and move the ball consistently. They're just not doing it now. They're not getting a push.
Yeah.
And every one of those drives just keeps stalling.
Yeah.
All right, you gonna pick the Falcons or go to West Craven?
I'm going to pick South Central. I'm hoping, after talking to Coach Carter after that game, he says he thinks that big drive at the end of the game will kind of spur their team to show them, hey, you guys can do this.
Yeah.
And West Craven's not really playing well right now. They're 1-5, and this is a game South Central needs to have, and I think they're going to take this one.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, I think this is the closest game of what we have here, our 6 games, but I'm going South Central as well, and probably a low-scoring game. Those are the games that they win. When they lose, they can't score. When they win, they create some plays on defense, like you said. I'm going to go with the Falcons in a close one.
Yeah, South Central has struggled on the road, so that alone makes it kind of, like you were saying, it's kind of hard to predict what they're going to do. I think the win last week will definitely help them, though. I say last week, on Monday, as you mentioned. It's hard to remember. But, yeah, I think South Central will go down there and get a win, although I don't think it'll be an easy one.
All right, sticking in the Coastal Conference here, Conley travels to White Oak. Conley had a tough loss on Monday. They played Havelock, kind of the power team in that conference and kind of the cream of the crop right now. But Conley played well. It was tied early on, and Havelock kind of pulled away. They're traveling to a White Oak team that's 1-5 and kind of struggling. So you would think they can get back on track, but it's a short week, and they're going to need to bounce back. So that's an interesting game as well. I'm going to pick the Vikings just because their offense alone. I think they can outscore White Oak and come back with a victory.
Yeah, I think they'll probably overpower them. The thing that stood out about that Havelock game, Conley scored 28 points against them. There aren't a lot of teams on Havelock's schedule that are going to be able to say that. That alone impressed me. You mentioned how powerful the offense is. I think that'll continue, and they'll come back 5-2.
All right, Jim.
I think a big note you have that you gave us with your info earlier this week, White Oak's only scored 18 points in the last 4 games.
Wow.
Yeah.
Conley's going to easily produce more than that.
You would think.
So I think Conley's a clear winner in this game. Goes 5-2.
Gotcha. All right, I'm pretty sure we all picked the same team.
We did.
Right? Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Team Reflector, it goes that way. Grab Saturday's paper at checkreflector.com, and we'll see you next week.